Welcome.
Thank you so much, Gerard. So I was told that I have...
We can give him a round of applause. I mean, you deserve it.
So I know we have very, very little time, so I'm going to go way too fast. I apologize ahead of time. Good luck keeping up. But I wanted to come up here and talk a little bit about a vision for the future for Angular, 2018 and 2038. What? So my name is Stephen Fluin. I'm a developer advocate on the Angular team at Google. Today, I'm going to try and paint a kind of vision in your minds for what it means to be an Angular developer both in 2018 and flash forward a crazy amount of time, like 20 years, and what it could mean to be an Angular developer in the future. We're going to go through three things. I want to talk a little bit about the state today. Then I'm going to talk about how things are going to change. And then I'm going to talk about how things are going to stay the same. So today, it's a really great time to be an Angular developer. We've achieved this really nice level of stability since we did the 2.0 launch in September of 2016. And things just kind of keep getting better with every release. We're really trying to balance this really tough thing between stability, where you know Angular, the training that you have continues to work and it continues to be applicable, but also innovation, trying to respond to what's new, what new things do we want to empower you to do. We announced a while ago that we're doing a release every 6 months. Some people thought we were a little bit crazy, but we've actually been very successful with this. So if you look at books that are being published, they've stopped using the version number, which is kind of what we wanted. It's just Angular. You don't need to call it Angular 5, because what you say about version 5 is going to be the same as what you say about version 6. And we're also achieving a very high level of stability in terms of people being able to update. We have this tweet here, easiest Angular update ever, moving from version 4 to version 5. And if we looked at the statistics of public Angular applications across the web, what we see is that most developers are on the latest version when we release a new version. So thank you so much, and we're going to continue investing in that. One of the things we're doing to make this easier is we're looking at how can we tool and how can we automate the process of doing these updates. So if you used material design a year ago or so, you saw that we had an MD prefix that we had to change to MAT to avoid namespacing conflicts. And as part of this, we released a tool, open source on GitHub, that automatically translated all of your TypeScript, your HTML, your CSS for you. And from what we heard, it was a 100% success rate. We made this change to Angular, and we built a tool that automated it for you. No one was really broken by that change. And that's something we want to continue to do over and over whenever there's a breaking change in the future. We also made an announcement in the last week. According to 30-day docs traffic to our website, Angular has now surpassed both AngularJS as well as a really big milestone, 1 million developers in terms of 30-day actives to the site. But that's just a subset of the Angular developers in the ecosystem. There are many, many more people that are not accessing the docs site on a regular basis. We actually see a couple interesting things. So most Angular applications, I believe about 90% based on the conversations I have, are behind the firewall. So you never see most of the Angular applications that are being built unless you work for a company that's using those applications. And to use Google as an example, while we have lots and lots of production public applications using Angular within Google, there's total, if you include internal and external, there's over 400 projects using Angular. So that's a really big milestone as well that we're going to continue to invest in Angular. It's very successful from our perspective, and it really does help a lot of developers. All right, so let's talk about change. So I always call this a combinatorial explosion of complexity, right? Every day on Twitter, it feels like a new framework is being announced, a new tool set, a new bundler, and the world is continuing to get more and more complex. And if we look at this from a feature set, we now have things like web components, GraphQL, progressive web applications, changes to TypeScript, Firebase, cool things like WebAssembly, cool things like NGRX. And all of these are giving you kind of new superpowers, but they also come with a cost of complexity. You have to get up to speed on these new things a little bit if you want to be effective and take advantage of them. But I would really say that despite all this change, feeling like a lot of churn, that we're reinventing the wheel sometimes, everything that's happening is happening for a reason. We're really trying to improve the user experience and the developer experience. Right? So the reason we're not shipping code from backend and just having static HTML that renders on the client and then you have a screen flip every time a user clicks is because users get better experiences from client-side applications. They see this content faster, they are more engaged, they get instant reactions to all of their clicks, all of their queries are there pre-populated for them, and this is really better for users and it's better for us as businesses. When we talk about better experiences, there's a few different kind of perspectives. We talk about performance. Every time we can make our app load faster, we are going to lose fewer users right? If you wait 2 seconds, a bunch of your users are going to turn away from your application, forget what they were doing, and then lose time and lose productivity. We also want to make applications more reliable with things like PWAs and offline capabilities. And so you've heard this kind of as a recurring theme today. But lastly, productivity. Things like NGRX, which is taking a immutable one-way data flow mentality and bringing that into Angular in a very solid way, makes developers more effective at scale. It allows you to build more maintainable applications, more reasonable applications, so you can reason out what's going on. And these are good things that we want developers to be able to take advantage of. Because, as I said, these better experiences are resulting in better outcomes from businesses, right? If you are selling something, you're going to sell more. If you're empowering employees, they're going to hate your internal tool maybe a little bit less because you chose Angular. So things are changing, and it's scary and terrible, right? But things are also going to be staying the same a little bit, and I want to talk about how we can try and think about this from the perspective of the Angular team to address some of that complexity. So whenever a new thing is entering the Angular universe, it kind of follows the same path. It starts as an idea someone has, and then we make it possible, right? We've written the code that maybe Rob Warmald can go and take, and he can craft it into doing it, or Alex Eagle. And then we try and make it easy. So we build the CLI tools. We make it a flag that you can turn on in the platform. And then the end goal is to make all of these things automatic for you. And this is a path that we've seen with things like PWA, where first we added service worker support, then we added it into the CLI, so you just say, give me a service worker. And then the idea is that once these things have been proven out at scale and validated, then we're going to automatically opt you into these things in a safe way. So Angular is really trying to own a lot of the developer experience. And I want to talk about a few of these examples where we're trying to take ownership of the new challenges and the evolution of the ecosystem for you. And one of these is ES 2015 modules. So when you're using the CLI or building an Angular application today, you're typically going to be shipping ES5. So you're going to be shipping the older version that doesn't have any of the cool features that we like as developers, which means that the code is more verbose, it takes longer time to parse, it takes longer time to run. It would be really cool if we could start shipping things like ES 2015 or later down to the browsers to take advantage of all those features. But if you do that, you start breaking older browsers, you start breaking compatibility with things like the web crawlers across the web. But for example, as these things continue to evolve, if it makes sense to at some point in the future, we say, hey, the web crawlers are up to date, the browsers are across the board, we can automatically opt you into that with a CLI feature. You don't have to change your code, the web changes, Angular's going to change it for you. Imagine another use case, or something that's happening right now. So RxJS is undergoing several kind of layers of repackaging. So we used to have these import RxJS /add /operator /switch map, which has a lot of side effects. You can't split your code. You can't really reason about where that code is coming from because it's modifying the prototype, and that's a challenge. And so RxJS is offering new ways of bundling and packaging with version 6 and with versions 5.5. We can build a schematics tool that's going to automatically take your code and rewrite it for you. So this is something that we're doing within Google because we use RxJS a lot. And now we're going to be taking all of those tools once we've validated them and give them to you so that we're automatically opting into these things so that breaking changes aren't breaking changes anymore. They're just an update that you're applying to your application. The last example I want to go through is Webpack 4. We all saw Sean's talk? Yeah? Exciting, awesome, cool stuff. Wouldn't that be cool if I could use that in my Angular application? Yes, and we're going to do that for you. Hooray! Scope hoisting, code splitting, tree shaking, all of these benefits we're going to try and give to you, leveraging the work from Sean and the team, leveraging the work in our CLI, and then just automatically opt you into these things. So we talked about 2018. You're writing Angular applications, and we're going to take all of the code that you write today to new places, to better experiences for your users, and better outcomes for you as businesses. But I also mentioned 2038. 2038, he's crazy, right? That's like 1 billion JavaScript years. Angular has a huge amount of adoption and momentum at this point. It looks like, just like AngularJS was around for a long time, Angular is going to be around for a very, very long time. And we've actually made commitments that we're not going to be rebuilding Angular again. So if AngularJS was around for 9 years, think double that, triple that, quadruple that, forever. Angular forever, wouldn't that be nice? So what's going to happen, though, is Angular is going to be evolving. We're going to evolve carefully, because the web's going to continue to change, and we want to take you to those places automatically, and we're going to bring you with us as we push the web forward. But I would also want to acknowledge that while things are still changing, they're also stabilizing, right? Like HTML, we've been writing pretty much the same HTML for a long time. There's cool new things like web components, there's new JavaScript APIs all the time, but things aren't changing as fast as they used to. And you see that within Angular, we see that across the kind of ecosystem where some of the tools that we're using are stabilizing, and so we're gonna kind of lean on that as well, and that's gonna make our lives easier so that we can manage and control the amount of change that's going on. And the last thing that I wanna acknowledge is really a big thank you to everyone here, because we have an amazing community, and everyone here, everyone that builds libraries, trains developers, consults with Angular, these are the people that are gonna make Angular successful in 2038 and beyond. Thank you so much.